Whoa, okay, so I did say I was never gonna make a tier list, but I think this one is appropriate because this one tells you guys what I think about the most important resources are in this Chinese boat game. Not gonna do ships, not gonna do any of that. We're doing resources today. Something simple, something most of you guys or some of you guys can agree on. So we're gonna pick it off here. So today's video is discussing about me giving my thoughts and rankings of the most important resources in this game. Something most of you guys can relate to. Now, I didn't get every single resource on here. I got as many as I can. I forgot gems. Everyone knows gems is important, so I'm not gonna put gems there. Gems is something that everyone thinks is important, so we're not gonna talk about that in particular. Everyone knows gems are important. It's like the god tier. Let's ignore gems. Let's go with what we have right here. Important resources on this list. We got cubes, drills, metals, specialized core data, guild tokens, dorm tokens, cat boxes, plates, gearboxes, cog data chips, coins, oil, dorm food, PR prints, retrofit prints, and skill books. That's what we got for today. So let's go in order. Now, cubes. How important are cubes? For most players, they're pretty important. Most players in this game do need a lot of cubes because you got a gacha. The core aspect of the game is to gacha, obviously, so cubes are very, very important here. But how important is it exactly? Well, if you're an early player or a mid-tier player or someone who doesn't play a lot, cubes are pretty important because you're not going to have a lot of them. So I say for the general aspect, a lot of people do find cubes pretty important. Now, if you're one of the very few people out there that's an endgame player, cubes aren't as important, so it'll probably be like somewhere like right here, I guess, if you're an absolute endgame player. But because majority of the player right here are like early mid-game players or don't play a lot, cubes are very, very important to them, so put cubes here. Now, drills. If you're building and you're impatient, you probably find drills to be important if you're very, very impatient. But for the most part, drills are really irrelevant. If you can wait, if you have the patience, you can honestly just ignore them. I ignore them for commissions and whatnot. They aren't needed. But if you're in a rush though, they're pretty important, I'd say. Honestly, if you spam build a lot, I probably put drills up to here. But the core functions of drills is to speed things up, which I find to be whatever because you can just wait. So I'm going to call it irrelevant. Now, you can change whatever you want. I'm going to call it irrelevant though. You can probably put it up here with important as well with drills, but we're going to keep it irrelevant. Metals, you can buy dorm food with it. All these other things with it, but you're going to have an abundance of them. They're pretty useful. They're pretty important, but they're not like high priority. You're going to have a lot of them eventually over time. So like, if you see like, oh, I gotta sell like my blue and purple ships, I need all these resources. Not really, no. You're gonna have a lot of them. So I say sometimes they're needed because you're gonna get a lot of them. And your shop isn't always gonna sell good things in the metal exchange. Like you're gonna buy some ships, you're gonna buy some plates, dorm food, skill books, maybe some eventual PR prints in there. But that's about it. You're not going to use them all the time. You rarely use them. You only use them when you see good things in the shop. So I'm put them as sometimes needed here. Specialized core. Specialized core is primarily used for UR bullets. Now there's the other thing for PR researches that are kind of useful, but I don't have any, so we're going to ignore it. I'm going to put sometimes needed for these because these are used for UR gacha ships. As of right now, we only have Shinano. You get 4,000 a month, which is enough to buy one bullet, and you need 4 to max limit break. They're not going to add UR gacha ship every 4 months. At least as of right now, they're not. So they're sometimes needed. Actually, they can probably be like really used. You don't need this a lot. It's not that important. Like you can farm them passively, but they're not like super important because you only buy like one, maybe a few things with them. I'm not sure. I think you buy the Sandy and Warspite thing. I got check later or whatever, but UR bullets is like top priority with these. And you don't need that many. You only need 4. You only need 4 like every couple of months or so, and I have way more than that, so rarely used. Core data. If you're like probably a less than a year old player, this is probably very, very important to you. But after you pass the 1 year mark, you have like your rainbow dildos, your planes, your black and white pencils, your Corsairs. You don't really need this as much. But again, most players, you're going to need a lot of them. And if you do your dailies, you should have an abundance. But some people don't do their dailies. So pretty important. Pretty important. You need a lot of things from the core data shop. So this is a pretty important resource. Guild tokens. As of right now, this is like one of the best ways to get gold plates. So automatically important. You're going to need a lot of them. And it's also for upgrading guild buffs and whatnot. So yes, automatically need a lot of these. Important. Dorm tokens. Again, if you're a new player, you're gonna need a lot of them. It's not that important. It's like useful. But later on, you're gonna have abundance of them, so not really that useful. So I say sometimes needed. You're probably gonna need a lot of them at the beginning, but over time and probably very, very soon, you're not gonna need them as much unless you want to collect like every single furniture. But even then, it doesn't take that much dorm tokens to get all of them. So I say sometimes needed. Sometimes needed. Now, cat boxes. This goes for SSR, purple, and blue. EXP, they're pretty good. But most people can agree that cats aren't super worth it unless you're very, very invested into them. So I say from the general consensus, rarely used. Yes, I know, kind of strange. Cats are important, but the investment needed to put into them to get them going is a very, very long process. I know it takes a long time to get level 30 cats, get a good cat going, and all that jazz. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of other things as well. Rarely used. Now, plates. This goes for white, blue, purple, and gold plates. I think we can all safely say that this is very important because a lot of people need plates. Coincidentally, I used the purple general plate as well, so yeah. Pretty important, especially gold plates. I need a lot of them. Please give me some. Now, gearboxes. These are pretty important for new players because you're not going to have any gear at all, so good way to get them. But later on, probably after like maybe 6, 7, 8 months of playing, they're not as useful anymore. So probably sometimes needed. I'll put it sometimes needed because or rarely used. Probably one of these. Because the reason why is because even though you don't need them, occasionally you might need like I need to craft some specific gear or whatever. Or I need a certain gear that I don't have right now. You're gonna pop open your gear boxes and try to see if you can get some gear that you might need. Or you're lacking coins and you open gear boxes to get some coins to build some gacha emergency. You lack of coins, so you pop open those 1,000 purple gear boxes and you get like 10,000 coins. You kind of might need them. So either rarely used or sometimes used. We'll keep it as sometimes used though. Cog chips. If you're an endgame player and you grind like crazy, this is very important to you. But for most people, getting post 100 chips is very rare. So I'm gonna say this is rarely used. You're gonna have a lot of them. If you do your dailies every single day, you're gonna have a lot of them. Or maybe sometimes used, but we'll go you're rarely used though because most of you guys barely have any 120 chips. So we'll keep that rarely used. Coins, we're not going to even discuss this. Automatically at important you go. Oil, I find it super important. Some of you guys don't. Depending on how much you play the game, oil is very important if you're an active player. If you're not an active player, not as important. But it is very important. Now, most players are login players or do daily, so sometimes needed. But it could be either important or sometimes needed, honestly. I'm gonna go important though, because I'm super biased on this oil. Oil is such a good resource. It can be used for coins, it can be used for anything. It's such a universal resource for like most of these resources. So oil and coins basically go hand in hand. Both are important. I'm not gonna talk about it. Now, Dorm food. Dorm food can be useful. It can be important as well, but it's definitely useful. I'll go with useful because it is passive EXP that you gain for doing nothing. Is it important though? Not really, because when you get really further into the game, the only way to get dorm food is if you use oil, and to some people, oil is more important than dorm food. So it's not super important, but it is useful. You gotta sacrifice oil to get dorm food, which some people wouldn't do. So if you don't buy dorm food, you don't have it up all the time. Now there's other ways to get dorm food, yes, but you won't have it up all the time if you don't spend oil. And to some people, oil is very, very a rich resource. And the EXP gain from dorm isn't that great compared to actual grinding. So we'll go with useful for cola or the dorm food. Pretty safe bet there. PR prints. If you actively play the game and you do PR research and you want developer 30s, this is really important. Really, really, really important. But again, some of you guys lack PR ships. Some of you guys are struggling with PR ships. We'll go with useful. We'll go with useful because some of you guys aren't dedicated to getting developer 30 ships, which is fine. But some of you guys are. We'll keep it at useful here. Now, it's not a dead resource because you get your ship stronger. We'll go with useful here. We'll go with useful. Retrofit prints. Early stage of the game is very, very important. You need it for PR ship development. You need it for ship retrofits for collection or whatever purposes. It is pretty important. But later on, as you play the game more and more, it becomes not as useful. So we'll go with sometimes needed. Because later on, you're going to have a lot of these, and they're not going to be super, super important. So keep at sometimes needed. Skill books. Now, red books, we all need them. Don't even lie, we all need them. Are they important? Yes, they are. Are they useful? Yes, they are. Now, do most people care about this? I say yes, they do. So, red skill books, very, very important. Blue and the other skill books, I say blue skill books is like sometimes needed, and yellow is useful. But blue is just so dead, dude. Red skill books, though, definitely important. Yellow, probably useful. And blue, probably be sometimes needed. Alright, so I think this is a pretty good tier list that I made here. There could be more resources added. I'm going to save this, actually. Don't know if people want to use this or not. We'll find out. Maybe I can get a link or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, first ever tier list. I feel kind of dirty now, but hey, whatever. Enjoy the video, guys.